Welcome to this episode of The Wisdom of Paramahansa Yogananda, brought to you by Self-Realization Fellowship, where each week you can receive inspiration and guidance from Paramahansa Yogananda's Kriya Yoga teachings. The subject of this episode is How to Spiritualize Our Daily Lives by Brother Saralananda.
Good morning again. God created us in part so that we could be a channel for His love to flow out into the world, that pure love of God that embraces all. And Guruji was once talking about that, and he said, universal love is trying to vibrate through you, but attachment, limitations, and concentration on the senses hinder the free expression of that universal love. You naturally love those who are dear to you. You must learn to give that kind of love to the whole world. In the soil of your heart, the seeds of love are growing. Cultivate those seeds with the water of universal love and universal sympathy. As soon as you love all people with the intensity of the love that you have for your family, then you are expressing divine love. And so, if we can go about our duties in a business, or our duties in serving our family, our friends, our neighbors, with an effort to increase the amount of love we feel in our hearts while we are serving others. And if we can try to remain centered in that love, as we go about those activities, we are spiritualizing them. We are making those activities a channel through which God can deeply inspire and connect with our lives, bless us and guide us, and change the whole nature of that activity so that there are more blessings for us and for those around us. In life, we start out fairly selfish. And there was once a 5-year-old that was asked what we can learn from the parable of the Good Samaritan, wherein the Good Samaritan had very unselfishly helped the man who had been hurt and injured, and was very generously caring for him. And so what can we learn from that parable? And the young child said, "It teaches me that when I am in trouble, someone should help me." Guruji once said, most people think first and foremost about themselves and about making money to satisfy their own desires. Rather, you should start with this thought: my life's duty is to make others happy. My life's duty is to make others happy. And he went on to explain, he said, in rendering good service, you're bound to get good returns. And when you get good returns, you can improve your own living standard and do even more for others. Again, the spiritual ideal is the greatest good of the greatest number. And so that love always reaching out to those around us to try to, as we pray, as we think, as we serve, to do the greatest good we can for those around us. Always with that heart, that thought in our heart to want to serve all with God's love. When I was about 13 years old, one of my duties around the house was to mow the lawn. And that year, my father bought a riding lawnmower. This is the one you get to sit on and drive. Much cooler for a 13-year-old than just a push lawnmower. And so he taught me how to take care of it. And the number one instruction that he gave to me, because it was a second-hand machine, was check the oil regularly. Check the oil regularly. So, the riding lawnmower had a low gear for going slow and a high gear for going fast, and an accelerator. And as a 13-year-old, I had absolutely no intention of using that low gear. But my father insisted on teaching me in low gear. And so I was going around the front yard in low gear, learning how to drive this thing. My father was watching me, and he thought, okay, he's got it. And then I drove it to the backyard, and my father was no longer there. And I shifted it into high gear. And I put my foot on the accelerator, and I was zooming across the backyard toward my mother's vegetable garden. And I thought I had everything under control and that I could turn at high speed and stay on the grass. But unfortunately, my mother lost about half a row of lettuce that year in about 3 seconds. Now, besides that very embarrassing incident where I'd have to go in and tell my mom what I had done, for the next 3 months, I just had a blast. I had so much fun driving that riding lawnmower around the yard, cutting the grass, and I had so much fun that I forgot to check the oil regularly. In fact, I never checked the oil. That's how much fun I was having. But then, this was in June, we bought the thing, and in about September, I was driving along, and the engine seized up. And it wouldn't start, wouldn't even turn over. And so I went to my dad and said, Dad, it's broke. Could you come see? And what is the first thing you think my father checked? He unscrewed the little dipstick in the motor and checked the oil level. And by that time, there wasn't any oil level left. It couldn't measure anything. And my dad asked me in a slightly elevated tone of voice, you know how fathers can get when you ruin a $1,000 piece of equipment by failing to follow their simple instructions? He said, when was the last time you checked the oil? And I said, well, when you showed me how to check it, back in June. And Dad just, put his hand to his head, and well, it was a little too expensive, he said, to kind of replace the engine on the machine. So he bought an electric push lawnmower for me, which didn't require any oil. So he thought, at least this will be safe. This will be safe for him to use this. But that's another story, the electric lawnmower. Now, on the path of Kriya Yoga, in meditation, we are learning to fill our hearts with the oil of divine love. Guruji once said, love is not merely a human emotion. It is a universal force. Just as oil is present in every part of the olive, so love permeates every part of creation. So this divine love permeates every part of creation. And in meditation, as we learn to calm the restless mind and concentrate it within, we can begin to feel something of that loving presence of God in our heart at first. And eventually then that love will grow and expand. And then Master said we can even feel divine love in the hearts of others. And so in meditation, we're learning to fill that vessel of our heart with divine love. But then we need to, in a sense, throughout the day, check the oil level regularly. When we find ourselves getting upset or entering into a mood or becoming worried and just focusing on that worry, or we become bored, all those states of consciousness mean that the level of love in our heart, divine love, has gone down. And so then we can learn to do something to, again, increase that love, that feeling of love we have inside, recenter our consciousness on that divine love. In talking about getting upset and giving in to negative emotions, Guruji once said, as soon as you become ruffled by such feelings, your voice becomes harsh and you feel antagonistic and spiteful. But when you are calm and at peace within, you love everyone and feel friendly toward all. This is the harmony God intended for His creation. And so God wants us to go through life with a deep feeling of His love in our hearts. Then we are more in tune with the divine plan that God has for our lives, the divine plan that God has for this creation. Our Bible passage today involves Mary and Martha, the sisters of Lazarus, and it illustrates the principle of spiritualizing our service to others by thinking of God, God's love during our service. In the Gospel of St. Luke, it says, now it came to pass as they went that he entered into a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha received him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, which also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. But Martha was cumbered about much serving and came to him and said, Lord, dost thou not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Bid her, therefore, that she help me. And Jesus answered her, saying, Martha, Martha, thou art careful and troubled about many things, but one thing is needful, and Mary hath chosen that good part, and it shall not be taken from her, away from her. And Guruji commented on this situation in this passage, and he said, any environment can be spiritualized with the presence of God. Thus, Jesus warned Martha, and by extension, all disciples engaged in secular responsibilities, that though she was commendably and necessarily tending to material duties, she was missing the blessing of her service. She was missing the blessing of her service. Because her mind was so distracted by external demands, it accommodated no thought of God. Jesus upheld the action of Mary because it was from no deliberate wish to shun household work, but from sincere devotion that engrossed her mind wholly in God and the God-united wisdom of Jesus. And then Master said something very interesting. He said, if Martha's works had been infused with Mary's devotion, Jesus would have made no distinction between the two sisters. Had Martha similarly absorbed his spirit, Jesus would have allowed Mary to assist Martha. But he did not want Mary to imitate her sister's material ways. Rather, that Martha should follow the devotional example of Mary. The devotional example of Mary. And so in our lives, as we go about whatever duties and responsibilities we have at a business or at home, we should follow that example of Mary and try to fill our hearts, fill our consciousness with as much of the thought of God, the love of God as we can, and then strive to remain centered in that as we serve. And so at different points in the day, we can just, again, check the oil level of divine love in our hearts and just think, in this moment or in the last half hour, in the last hour, has my consciousness, been centered in that feeling of love as I've been serving others? Or is it now more off-centered onto some kind of worry, some kind of anger, resentment, fear? And when we find out that we've become off-center, then we can do simple things on the spiritual path. We can just inwardly repeat a devotional thought of God. Reveal thyself, Lord. I love you, Lord. I love you, Lord. We can practice an affirmation. We can practice a visualization, just to recenter our consciousness as much as we can at that moment, back into that thought of universal love for all. In the autobiography of a yogi, Guruji describes one of his experiences in cosmic consciousness. This is where the consciousness expands beyond the body and becomes one with God. And so you have a great sense of expansion, a great sense of joy, a great sense of God's love and peace and wisdom. And he said that he experienced that great state of consciousness from a center of intuitive perception in his heart. And he said, irradiating splendor issued from my nucleus, meaning the heart, to every part of the universal structure. And so part of this experience of cosmic consciousness, or it's also called samadhi, is that God's presence, God's love, God's joy, God's wisdom, that splendor is felt in the heart, and it is like a divine flame that spreads its light, that spreads its love in all directions from our hearts when we enter that state of consciousness. And so I'd just like us to just visualize this today. Please sit in the upright meditation posture. So our spine is erect, chin parallel to the floor, shoulders back, chest out a bit. Hands with the palms upturned, resting on the thighs at the juncture of the thighs and abdomen. The gaze is lifted upward toward the point between the eyebrows. Concentrate the mind there just for a moment. And now let's transfer our concentration to our heart center. Focus at the heart and visualize the presence of God manifesting there in all His glory, like a divine flame, spreading that splendor, that love, that peace, that wisdom, that joy in all directions, that flame of God's living presence within our heart is spreading out everywhere. Radiating splendor issued from my nucleus to every part of the universal structure. Just feel the power of that divine love, that divine light, spreading everywhere. Your heart is sharing it unconditionally with all. Radiating splendor issued from my nucleus to every part of the universal structure, to all souls everywhere. Now let us practice this affirmation together. Keep your eyes closed. This affirmation comes from page 80 of Metaphysical Meditations. And the affirmation goes, I will radiate love and goodwill to others, that I may open a channel for God's love to come to all. So please repeat out loud after me. I will radiate love and goodwill to others, that I may open a channel for God's love to come to all. I will radiate love and goodwill to others, that I may open a channel for God's love to come to all. I will radiate love and goodwill to others, that I may open a channel for God's love to come to all. I will radiate love and goodwill to others, that I may open a channel for God's love to come to all. I will radiate love and goodwill to others, that I may open a channel for God's love to come to all. I will radiate love and goodwill to others, that I may open a channel for God's love to come to all. And now please repeat in a whisper voice, I will radiate love and goodwill to others, that I may open a channel for God's love to come to all. I will radiate love and goodwill to others, that I may open a channel for God's love to come to all. And now just repeat mentally only as I say it out loud. I will radiate love and goodwill to others, that I may open a channel for God's love to come to all. I will radiate love and goodwill to others, that I may open a channel for God's love to come to all. And now just sit in the silence, quietly radiating God's universal love from your heart to the hearts of all. Just enjoy that feeling. This is the center from which we are meant to live, move, and have our being, in this center of God's love. The Lord Krishna was and is a perfect channel for God's wisdom to flow out into the world. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks to Arjuna about devotional living, about dedicating different things throughout our day to God as we do them. And he says, the reverent presentation to me of a leaf, a flower, a fruit or water, given with pure intention, is a devotional offering acceptable in my sight. And Master, in commenting on this process of devotedly offering things to God throughout the day, said, true devotees devoutly offer to him the living leaves of their proliferating spiritual understanding and perceptions, the choicest blossoms of love from the secret garden of their hearts, the fruits of their selfless actions, and the sanctifying sacred waters of intuitive inner divine communion, gathered reverently from the river of meditation. And so the offerings we can make to God during the day are these love-inspired, God-centered activities that we perform wherever we are, whatever we are doing. Those we can offer to God. That selfless service where our hearts just want to serve others. That selfless service. These are wonderful offerings that are very pleasing to God. It can be the simplest of things that we do with great love in our hearts. Very pleasing to God. And these spiritualized activities really act as stepping stones for bringing us back home to God, for reuniting our consciousness eventually fully with God's all-loving consciousness, with that consciousness that loves all his children. As many of you know, the Self-Realization Fellowship lessons are a home study course that Paramahansa Yogananda created so that we all could learn about the path of Kriya Yoga. And in lesson number 25, there's a basic series of lessons that are the first 18 lessons, and then there's a supplemental series of lessons that go beyond that. And in this supplemental series, in lesson number 25, Master gives us a wonderful visualization on how to spread divine love to all. And there's a number of concepts in this visualization that not everyone will be familiar with, so I just want to talk about that first before we do the visualization together. Guruji taught that as we practice scientific meditation techniques every day that are part of the path of Kriya Yoga, and as we cultivate greater love for God, eventually that wonderful combination helps us to still the mind in a greater way, so that in that inner temple of stillness, intuition can actually give us a feeling of God's presence. That presence often starts as peace, a feeling of deeper peace within, but then it can blossom into love, a feeling of great joy. And in deep meditation, Master said, we can feel an immense amount of joy in the brain and in the spine. And in the final state, in the highest state of consciousness, samadhi, cosmic consciousness, our consciousness unites with God's consciousness. And we feel that presence of God, that universal, expanded presence of God that reaches the farthest ends of the universe, material creation, and even beyond creation, into that sphere of bliss, that bliss consciousness of God. And so it's an experience that involves an immense amount of joy. And so now let's go through this visualization together. Master talks about how to convert inner joy that we feel into divine love for all. So please sit in the upright meditation posture. Lift your gaze gently upward, close your eyes. Focus your attention at the point between the eyebrows, the Christ center, Kutastha Chaitanya. Master said, what you feel in samadhi is the bliss of the self. Bliss given to others is divine love. Learn to channel that bliss of samadhi into divine love and cast it on others. When you look at your family members, your fellow office workers, your friends and social acquaintances, or the passing stream of people on the sidewalk, once in a while, remain still. Convert your bliss into all-spreading love and cast it on the people around you. Master said, concentrate all the bliss of the brain and spine into the heart, and let the heart become an opening, sending out the searchlight of love to all humans and animals around you, even into trees and blossoms. And say, Lord of love, make the love of my heart flood through all, and make me feel thy love in the hearts of all. So I'm going to repeat this section. Concentrate so we can imagine that we're feeling great joy in our spine and our brain. And Master said, concentrate all the bliss of the brain and spine into the heart. And let the heart become an opening, sending out the searchlight of love to all humans and animals around you, even into trees and blossoms. And say, Lord of love, make the love of my heart flood through all. And make me feel thy love in the hearts of all. Master said, practice this again and again. And as your perception of cosmic love revives its all-pervading quality, you will feel the hearts of man and beast like different beads knitted together by your own love. Their joys and emotions and love will appear in your heart, and you will be thrilled beyond dreams to see the separating barriers of illusion that lay between your heart and the hearts of others disappear so suddenly. This requires constant practice until you learn actually to feel the love of others' hearts. Don't be satisfied. So one more time. Concentrate all the bliss of the brain and spine into the heart. And let the heart become an opening, sending out the searchlight of love to all humans and animals around you. Even into the trees and blossoms. Even into trees and blossoms. And say, Lord of love, make the love of my heart flood through all. And make me feel thy love in the hearts of all. And so this is another way that we can tune in with that vast, expanded love of God, which is our eternal home. And just learning a few of these visualizations, a few of these affirmations, as we check the oil regularly, that oil of divine love in our hearts, and find that perhaps we are no longer centered in that divine love for some reason, then we know we have ways to get back to being more centered in that divine love. It can only take a few minutes sometimes. And then we go on with our day, a little more centered in divine love, fulfilling the role, the specific role that God has for each one of us in our lives to spread his light to those around us. And it's a wonderful practice to engage in. That affirmation, I will radiate love and goodwill to others. As you practice it, you become quicker and quicker to get into that state of feeling a great amount of love for all. As you work with it over and over and over again, any of these practices, we become better at it. And it more efficiently takes us into that wonderful inner center of love that is the core of our being. And so we can practice this and ask the Guru's help. These spiritual practices that we do, we never do them alone. As we are practicing, the Guru, in his omniscient consciousness, is aware of us. He is omnipresent. He is omnipotent. And so he can bless us. He can help us with this practicing these various inner techniques to tune in with God in a deeper and deeper way throughout our lives, so that one day we will feel that perfect merging in God and the deepest purpose of our life will have been fulfilled. And so I just want to close today's service with these words of blessing that Master gave to a group of disciples many years ago. But those words are as true for those disciples back then. They are as true for you as they were for those disciples back then. So please just close your eyes and think of the nearness of God, the nearness of Guru, the nearness of the great ones in our line of Gurus. They are very aware of your life. They cherish your life. They are with you always, helping you along the spiritual path. Feel that Master is saying these words to you. Guruji said, "Know that I constantly think of you all and want to see you growing in every way. The more you are in tune with me and refrain from fussing about little things, the better you will be. A steady stream of divine power will flow to you, for the Great One sent me here. When I am gone, you will realize this truth with greater impact. I am here only to deliver their message." Now feel that Guruji is saying this to you. I bless you, and may the great presence of God descend upon you. And may that love be strong in your minds and hearts forever and forever. I bless you, and may the great presence of God descend upon you. And may that love be strong in your minds and hearts forever and forever.
This has been a production of Self-Realization Fellowship, a non-profit organization founded by Paramahansa Yogananda in 1920. For more information about Self-Realization Fellowship and Paramahansa Yogananda, please visit yogananda.org.